Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Olivia Hollaus for Boca Magazine, and thank you for joining us on this coffee break with Boca Magazine. We are joined today by two special guests and experienced attorneys, Managing Partner Marius Ged and David Shaheen of law firm Ged Lawyers. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Olivia. Great to be here.
Happy to be here.
It's so great to see you. And, we are in the midst of hurricane season in Florida. So we're about to delve into property damage and the legal policies associated with disaster recovery claims. But first, Marty, tell us about Ged Lawyers, and also how has your law firm adapted to the current pandemic?
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Olivia. Our firm is a full-service law firm headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida. We're about 100 people together in our organization with locations throughout the state of Florida. We have offices in, as I mentioned, our headquarters in Boca Raton. We have offices in Naples. We have offices in Fort Myers. We have offices in Panama City. We have an office in Orlando. We have an office in Melbourne. And we're, as they say, grow or die. So we're continually growing. We're multifaceted. We have different practice areas. And obviously today we're here to talk about our property damage division, which handles the hurricane types of cases. But we also represent, we mainly represent plaintiffs in consumer justice cases. And what I mean by that is we represent people who unfortunately did not collect enough money from their insurance company as a result of a hurricane or a pipe burst or a fire to their property. But in the other divisions, we have significant practice areas as well. And the other areas are bodily injury, where we represent people who are involved in an auto accident and injured by the fault of someone else. And our largest area is what's called PIP recovery. And that's where we represent medical providers, hospitals, anyone who treats an injured person and has to bill the PIP insurance. Because in Florida, anyone who's injured in an auto accident has $10,000 of medical benefits under their car insurance, and that's called PIP. So in that practice area, we really do a great job in representing the medical providers and getting them their money that's either underpaid, delayed, or denied. And that slogan is the theme throughout the firm. We represent people who are either getting underpaid, delayed, and denied. As it respects to COVID, I have to tell you, our firm is a technology, we're really into technology. Myself and my partner, Ged, we spent a lot of money on technology, and we really invested heavily a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, 2017, 18, in taking the whole company and migrating the whole company to the cloud. So everything that we do is built on Azure. We've developed our own, that's Microsoft's product, the cloud-based product. Everything that we do, we run our own proprietary software, which is web-based. So it allows anyone to be remote anywhere. And I still remember the day we made the call on, I think it was Friday, March 13th, to go remote that Monday. It was seamless for us. We had 100 people not come into the office on Monday, and we had everyone had laptops and take their computers home, and they're able to access any file at any time. We are still meeting with our clients using this platform here, Zoom, or we use Google Meets, and we're signing up clients remotely using DocuSign. So as difficult as it may be, I think our firm has been very well situated in how to react to this pandemic. We still are not open in the Boca office. We are meeting by appointment only. And I got to tell you, it's the best decision we've made. Number one, the safety of our employees is tantamount to both of us, or Glenn and I, as I mentioned, and we really want our employees to be safe during this crazy time. Secondly, it's allowed the employees to actually be with their kids. And as we all know and have children, this last 3 months of school was a nightmare for everyone. And if you're a single mom or you're a mom or a dad that has to take care of your kids with school, there's no way to do it if the kids are home from school and you're going to work. So we take that into account. And although we are 100 people, we're a family business. And every one of our people, from attorneys down to mail clerks, are part of the family. And we take that very seriously.
Well, that's really great. So business as usual at Ged Lawyers. So that's really great to hear. David, one of your areas of expertise is dealing with property damage and disaster recovery and helping victims deal with insurance coverage disputes, denials, and underpayment of claims, and I'm sure so much more. But what is the most prominent cause of property damage for us here in Boca Raton and the surrounding areas?
Yeah, thanks again for having us on here. It's been awesome getting to know you and also getting to know the Boca magazine. And it's great being a part of Boca Raton. I love the city. So, one thing that I've been noticing too is just from being home, you start to look around, you start seeing, some things are kind of falling apart. I noticed a stretch fracture in my ceiling recently. A lot of issues that we commonly see here in Boca are pipe leaks, AC leaks, refrigerators are starting to leak, different cracks, different mold. You start smelling things. You're like, what is that smell? I'm noticing some different kinds of smells. Those are kind of things that would ultimately turn into insurance claims that you submit a claim with your insurance company. And most of the time they're coming back and they're saying, look, it's either going to be denied or there's probably some repairs you can make, but it's going to be under your deductible. So we're not going to pay you anything. And also 3 years ago, we had Hurricane Irma that came through. That was another cause of some damages to roofs. But insurance companies across the board, we're getting a lot of calls now, and people are kind of looking back over their former insurance claims that they initially submitted from, whether it was from Hurricane Irma or just in the past. They're looking at these claims and saying, wait a minute, mine was denied. They had some engineer, but I never saw the report, or I don't know why they're saying there's no damages. They're just saying it's denied, or they're saying, yes, maybe it can be repaired, but it's less than my deductible. So, we're looking over a lot of these coverage decisions from the insurance companies. We're getting a lot of people paid on their claims. So just because they say no doesn't mean that's the end of the road on your claim.
That's actually the start for us, David. And just to add to what you said there, I think because people are at home now, they're noticing things, or they're more acute to paying attention to their property, which is this asset, and they're seeing things that they may not have noticed because they're at work all day.
Right. No, that's so true. We are spending so much more time at home, and there's also hurricane season. So I think that that's something that's on our minds. Wanting to be prepared for any kind of disaster, big or small. Marty, is there a recurring common mistake that you see victims of property damage making over and over again prior to engaging your law firm for representation?
Most people are just concerned or afraid of insurance companies. For example, they may make a claim with their insurance company, and then they get a letter back denying that claim and saying, as David mentioned, that the claim is under the deductible, or they may make what's called a defense or an affirmative defense saying you didn't maintain your property correctly. And a lot of people, unfortunately, take that letter as gospel and don't do anything about it. And it's truly our job to educate the consumers, to make them understand or allow them to understand. That's where it starts. And because someone said no to you doesn't necessarily mean it's an absolute no. And look, there are a lot of cases that we review that we turn down where there may not be an expectation of recovery. But more often than not, the majority of times we get involved and we review the case, we find there's an expectation of recovery, and we'll sign that client up. So in sum, it's usually is no's where it starts, and then people should call us.
Right. And you're very transparent. So, it's great. I'm sure you're putting your clients at ease as well. David, what steps should a homeowner take before and after a property claim has been filed?
That's a great question. We're getting a lot of claims right now from Woodfield, because they're finding out that they had roof damage from Hurricane Irma, but those claims were denied or under the deductible. So I'm looking over a lot of these and saying, you know what, coverage is available here. Let's get our team out. Let's go look at it. Let's take a second look. So the first issue that I'm usually seeing is people are just taking the no, kind of like Marty said, no as gospel, and that's the end of the road. But before a claim, you brought up preparedness, which I think is so important going into hurricane season. All the reports are saying this is going to be one of the busiest hurricane seasons to date. I know we had some of that sand coming in from the Saharan desert coming in, but it's starting to pick back up again. We've been seeing tornadoes locally in Boca. It's crazy, so we're getting claims in on those too. But hurricane preparedness is so important. Take pictures of the outside of your home now. Do it now. If you could see your roof, take some pictures of it. If you could see the outside of your home, walk around, snap some pictures of the ceiling, the different rooms, because the first thing the insurance company is going to want to do, and this if you had your own claims, is they're going to say pre-existing damage. It was there before the hurricane. Or if you didn't make a Hurricane Irma claim, they're going to say Hurricane Irma. Or they're going to say we've heard Hurricane Dorian, which barely made contact with any part of Boca. We had some rain. We didn't get those hurricane winds, or they're going to blame it on the tornadoes. So take pictures now, have everything ready to go now, so that when a hurricane does hit, and it's going to be hitting in the next few months, at least more tornadoes are going to be coming in, more weather systems are going to come in. You're going to have your pictures ready to go. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you see a leak after a rain event or a hurricane or some kind of heavy winds or those types of things, if you see a leak, call us first. Okay, you want to make sure you're documenting those things. Give us a call. Let's talk through it. But what we're going to tell you is take pictures of the damages. You want to take pictures of the damages, but talk to us too, because as Marty was saying, it may not be in your best interest to make a claim. We want to make sure that if you're going to make a claim, that it's in your best interest to do so, that you're not just running up things just to run up claims, and it's going to hurt you in the long run. We want to make sure if you're going to make a claim, it's the right claim to make, that it's well documented, and that we're ready to go when you make the claim to the insurance company. So if I can give any piece of advice, and I know each case is specific and different with different damages, take pictures right away as you see them. We don't want to rely on us telling the story, okay? We want to have the pictures tell the story. That's going to be the best evidence for the insurance companies. They're going to say, well, we sent our person out and we didn't see anything. And you're going to have your pictures ready to go from before, during, after. And you're going to talk to us, and we're going to make a decision on whether we should move forward with the claim.
Well, that's what I'm
Hey,
going to.
Dave, one thing I want you to let all the viewers know, I'm sorry, Olivia, is Hurricane Irma, and we're getting a lot of calls recently on Hurricane Irma. There is a statute of limitations or a finality making those claims. David, just let the viewers know when that date is, because there is a time sensitivity for us accepting new cases as well.
Right, you make a great point. So the time to make a claim is 3 years from when Hurricane Irma made landfall, from what's called the date of loss, if you will, when you had those damages. That's about September 9th, September 10th, depending on where you are in the city. So you have 3 years from that time frame to make a claim. Now, some of us already made those claims. If you've made that claim and you've gotten a coverage decision, meaning some kind of decision from your insurance company, you have 5 years to file a lawsuit. Okay, now we don't want to wait on these things. If you've already made the claim close in time, then you're fine. But the longer you wait to make the claim, the more likely it is the insurance company is gonna just deny your claim. But we're getting a lot of value on those cases, because we're saying, wait a minute, the statute, your contracts, they all say you have 3 years to make a claim. How are you just gonna deny the claim based on something that's in your contract, that's in the law? So, they're saying that, and I know if we don't have experience in these things, we're looking at these denial letters and we're saying, you know what? They send an engineer out. They probably have more experience than I do. I'm not an expert. They're probably right. And they're just throwing it to the side. But we're saying, no. Take a look. If you've already made a decision, already made a claim, and they've made a coverage decision, let's take a look at it. It's free to talk to us. Let's take a look and see if you have some more value there. But if you haven't made a claim, the clock is ticking. It's going to be early September, 9th or 10th. I would err on the earlier side. Some insurance companies are logging it as September 7th. So you want to be careful with that. So I'd look and say, in these next couple of months, make sure you don't have any damage to your roof, any kind of Hurricane Irma related damages, and talk to us about whether we should make a claim or not.
Well, after this chat, I'm going to go home and take photos of my entire house. So that's a really great tip. And Marty, can you give us a tip, when we're trying to select a property insurance coverage? I mean, what should we be looking for?
Sure. So you want to make sure that the team handling your claim has the experience. Our team at Ged Lawyers is built on, obviously, expertise and knowledge and years of doing this. We have been doing this since 2010. Personally, I've handled thousands of cases myself. We did Hurricane or Superstorm Sandy in New Jersey. In that disaster, we handled thousands of clients in New Jersey. We've done Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Michael, Hurricane Dorian. We've done tons, hundreds and hundreds of regular pipe burst, fire cases, water leaks, those types of cases. And our team we have a dedicated team of just property damage lawyers. So David doesn't do criminal law. He doesn't dabble in bodily injury. He doesn't dabble in PIP. He only does property damage. So he's what we call a subject matter expert in that area of law. And there are many other attorneys in our firm that just handle property damage. That's the first thing, expertise and knowledge of the law. Secondly, as important really, is having the financial strength to actually fund these cases, because we work on a contingency. And what that means is that clients hire us and they don't pay us money like a traditional lawyer where they bill you per hour to make a phone call. They bill you in increments of 0.6 or 6 minutes. That's not how we work. We work on a contingency, which basically means that you don't have to pay us anything unless we recover money for you. In that same breath, we hire experts on almost every single case. And those experts are critical to prove your damages. David and I are excellent lawyers. We know the law. We know how to apply the law to the facts that are given to us. However, I'm not a general contractor. I'm not a mold expert. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a structural guy. I'm not a window guy. We bring those those different subject matter experts into our case to give an opinion. And without those opinions and without those experts, you're not able to prove your case to the other side, to the insurance company. The defense attorneys are great. They know how to handle the cases as well. And if you're bringing a case without an expert, they're going to kick your butt in court. So that's important. And then quite frankly, the communication and transparency of what you're doing is, tantamount to what we do. We call ourselves the Ritz. There's the Days Inn, there's the Marriott, and the Ritz. We like to treat our clients like they come to the Ritz. It's ladies and gentlemen treating ladies and gentlemen. It's a different level of customer service. And this is, for most part, people's largest asset in their lives that's being physically damaged, which is a lot of money out of their pockets. So we're very cognizant of that. And we want to make sure that we can get the best value for your case. And another thing, we'll never sell a case short, meaning we're not going to settle a case just because we need money to settle a case. A lot of law firms do that. They don't get you proper value for their case. They'll advise you to take a settlement because on a contingency matter, the lawyer doesn't get paid until the case settles. That's not how we operate at all. We always put our clients first, and thank God we have the financial strength to carry the cases to be able to make those decisions.
And, as a homeowner, when I'm looking for insurance coverage, David, what should I be looking for in making sure that I am well covered?
Sure. Well, first of all, you want to make sure you have the right insurance company. And I don't know who's watching here. We do love insurance companies. We love our insurance agents. But if you want to talk about which insurance companies pay better than others, make sure you give us a call on that. But also, too, I think the most important thing is as we get into hurricane season, make sure you have hurricane coverage. Now, that could either be called hurricane coverage under your policy or windstorm coverage. Windstorm coverage. That's kind of the key thing. We've gotten some cases, unfortunately, where there's been coverage, but not for windstorm coverage for some of these Hurricane Irma cases. We've handled a couple of Hurricane Dorian and Hurricane Michael cases. We've heard a lot of Hurricane Michael cases also, but for our different offices. But you want to make sure you have that coverage. Also, check your deductible. Check your deductible, because deductibles, you may be paying a cheaper premium, but your deductible might be pretty high. We've seen deductibles go very high. And kind of what these insurance companies are doing is when they give you value on a case, it's going to be over the deductible. So let's say your deductible is $40,000, but you have a roof, estimate for $30,000. They're going to say, well, wait a minute, that's under the deductible. So make sure your deductible is not too high as we kind of get into hurricane season. So those are kind of the two biggest things to look out for. And then my third tip would be make sure you have what's called additional living expense coverage, ALE. It's coverage D. So on your insurance policies, they're split up into four main, now there's a lot of different insurance coverages, but four main coverages, A, B, C, and D. That D is kind of the one I'm talking about. It could be called additional living expenses or loss of use. God forbid you have a hole in your roof. God forbid something really bad happens to your home where you can't live in it after the damages, after the hurricane, or you have flooding and it's causing issues. Or let's say you have a pipe loss in your bathroom where your toilet's flooding, you can't use your toilet, so you can't use your kitchen. It could be on different scales where you can't use your home the way you could before the damage. You want to have good coverage limits on that, because you don't want to be staying somewhere where it's less than your means, or less than where you live. You want to be staying at some place where it's not a huge transition for your family. If you have to move the kids out, you want to be staying in somewhere of like kind. So make sure you have good limits on that. It's not a lot more. It may not even be anything to kind of up those limits. Check with your insurance agent or an insurance broker. We have great ones that we work with, but make sure your limits are where they need to be going into this hurricane season.
Really?
I want to add to that too, Olivia, because it's important. This is a concept that most people don't even look at their deck page until they have a loss. David mentioned there's 4 different coverage areas. A is what's called the dwelling. If you have a mortgage on your property, the mortgage company only cares about that dwelling because that's the asset that they're lending money on. The other coverages are just important, and they may even be more important to you, and I'm going to take some time to explain them to you. Coverage B is other structures. Other structures could be a screened-in fence, could be a barn on the property, could be a detached garage. So those are important things to look at to make sure you have the right coverage. Coverage C, contents, your clothes, your art, your personal effects. If your roof blows off and water's coming in and everything's getting ruined and you have no contents coverage, you're paying for that yourself. And then as David mentioned, coverage D is your additional living expenses. So all four of those, and we customarily, we always do free policy reviews. So if anyone's interested and wants to say, hey, David, hey, Marty, will you look at my policy? I would tell you, email me a copy of your deck page. I'll write right back on there. I'll tell you what I think. And as David says, most good insurance agents will sell you the proper coverages. They're in their best interest to make sure you're covered. It's if you go online and shop it yourself and don't know what you're buying, that's when you have to, as they say, caveat emptor, buyer beware. And then there's new types of insurance, which are certain companies where they have policies where the insurance company actually does the repairs for you. There's two big companies in the state of Florida, which we're not really fans of, that provide this type of coverage where if you have a claim and you make a claim, the insurance company will send their contractor to your house, and that creates a ton of different issues. What if that contractor doesn't fix the roof right? Who warranties it? What if, does the insurance company really care how you fix the property? So there are certain carriers that have that type of policy. We highly advise against that policy. And you know, you pay for what you get. It's a lot cheaper, but it's crappy coverage.
Really, honestly, such great tips. And you know, Marty, what is an average turnaround time frame from, you know, a claim being processed to settlement? And you know, as we're living through a pandemic, is the process a bit slower than usual?
Well, the pandemic has affected every lawyer that's in business, and that's the fact of what we live in. Courts are still closed. Unfortunately, David and I cannot control that. Courts being closed does not mean cases can't move forward. So David and our property damage attorneys are constantly doing depositions, are constantly doing hearings in front of judges on Zoom. So we're using Zoom. The only thing that really can't happen right now is a trial. Although I saw today in a trade magazine called the Daily Business Review, Miami had their first jury trial on Zoom. I don't know how that's going to work out yet. That's still to be determined. But cases take time. There are certain things that have to happen. But our cases, depending on the severity of the case, can settle quickly, or sometimes they get protracted out in litigation. Our firm generally pushes cases very hard, and we want to make sure the clients are obviously being represented zealously to the full effect of the law. And we use certain legal strategies which actually shift the burden and puts more onus on the insurance company. One of those tactics is using a CRN, a civil remedy notice. In any type of case, the plaintiff has the burden of proving their case and proving that there's two things: liability, meaning the other person's at fault, and two, damages. Without those two elements, you have no case. The importance of a civil remedy notice is once it's a form that's issued by the Florida Department of Insurance, and once we file that civil remedy notice, it puts the insurance company, it shifts that burden to them to now respond to this legal document. And if they don't respond to that legal document, they may be liable for extra contractual damages, which means they may be liable for punitive damages. And a lot of times, if we send a CRN, the civil remedy notice, to the insurance company with a claims package that we call bow and tie, that has all the information, all the documentations, they'll pay right there and the case is over. Sometimes they don't, and then we have to further litigate those cases.
So bottom line, it's very important to have very good lawyers by your side to walk you through the process from beginning to end. David, I hear that you are an excellent tennis player. You're captain of your university's team. Are there any similarities between the tennis court and the courtroom?
You must have gotten that information from my mother, so I want to thank her if she's watching. Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the biggest things for me, one of the reasons I got into court, I guess into law really, was my father. You know, he was involved in some litigation when I was growing up. My dad was a great tennis player, but he got involved in some litigation growing up. And, you know, it's just being a part of that process. You really got to, you don't really understand the legal mumbo jumbo. It's either did you win, did you lose, and how was your attorney? Okay, that's how it is at the end of the day. And no one really wants to try cases. They just want to get paid. But sometimes you're forced to kind of go into the courtroom, and you got to put your case before a jury of six strangers that, you know, don't know anything about you. And just kind of watching the way his attorney handled that case. And it was many years ago now, but you know, it's something that's kind of stuck with me. And just kind of watching the way he handled things and kind of build my dad out. And you know, he's not a local attorney, he's from out of state, but regardless, that's always kind of stuck with me. And I've always thought, you know, no one should ever have to have bad representation. You know, you gotta make sure if you're gonna have a case, you gotta explain it to people in a language they can understand. Okay, it's not just about billing, which is why I love being a part of this firm, because we don't charge retainer fees up front. We don't say, hey, give us $10,000, and then once we're done billing that, we're going to send you another bill and another bill. Or when you call in, here's a bill for $500 minimum. No, it's contingency. And most of the time we're getting that percentage, either all of it, some of it, most of it paid back from the insurance company anyway. So it doesn't even really come out of your cut. So that's kind of what got me into this. And, you know, I guess I'm competitive by nature. I played in high school at St. Andrews, go Scots. I played up at Villanova, I played #1 singles and doubles there, go Wildcats. And, you know, I just keep playing. I keep playing now. And the similarity for me really is just the competitive aspect. You know, in tennis, you know, you're always trying to find it's the short ball, right? So you can really get on the attack. And it's kind of the same thing in these cases. Is you always want to try and find that point of weakness and attack it. Because once you find that point of weakness, that's when the money starts coming out. It's kind of like a piñata. You know, like when a doctor is treating a patient, you're feeling around until they say ouch. And once they say ouch, that's when you know you found the issue. And that's kind of how it is in court. But you know, a lot of these cases aren't necessarily going to court if you know how to work the file properly. I come from a defense background. Scott Rosso, who's another attorney at the firm, was a partner at one of the biggest defense firms down here, and we used to work together, and we used to defend these insurance companies. Now we're both on the good side with the good guys defending homeowners. But you have to know how these insurance companies work. You have to know how they think. You have to know what their methodology is, or you're just going to be shooting in the dark and shooting blanks. It's not a cookie cutter approach with every insurance company. Some have very specific policies. Some have very specific strategies. But as I was telling someone earlier today, I mean, you know, if you come from the defense background, you're trained in the same dojo as some of these other attorneys. So you know what they're trying to do before they do it, and you have to set them up accordingly, especially with these insurance companies. You got to know exactly how to line these cases up so that you're getting settlement earlier. You don't want to wait down the road to get money you should have gotten earlier. So because we have that perspective, you know, that's kind of why we're able to get more value. But for me, I'm very competitive, but I love playing doubles. It's a team effort. You know, there's no I in team. And that's why I love being a part of Ged Lawyers. There's a lot of camaraderie. Marty was talking about how it's a very family oriented firm. I really feel that from the partners. I mean, you know, a lot of firms aren't staying home. You know, a lot of firms have let go a lot of attorneys. All of our attorneys and staff, we're still here. You know, we're still having a great time. We're still plugging along on our cases. And, you know, for me, it's just kind of a way to kind of keep those competitive juices going. I'm still playing with attorneys. I'm still playing with clients. And we have a great time. Still trying to keep in shape in this quarantine, you know?
And that's awesome. That's really great, despite the scorching heat. And Marty, my last question goes to you. If you were not an attorney, what would you be doing?
Very interesting question. So I always knew from when I was a child, I wanted to help people. It's always been one of my passions. You know, I didn't start my career as an attorney. I used to actually work on Wall Street for a small insurance company called AIG. So I learned insurance from a different side of it. And unfortunately, I was there for 9/11, and I actually started law school in 2002 after 9/11. But I would be helping someone in some way, shape, or form, because that's my passion, to help people and help them always achieve what they want to achieve.
You know, great answers. So many wonderful tips. Thank you so much for this informative chat. I mean, your expertise and insight has just been really, for me, eye-opening, and I'm sure for a lot of our viewers. So thank you so much for being a part of today's chat.
Thank you so much. And I would love to leave everyone my email if possible. My name's Marty Ged, and my email is mged@gedlawyers.com. And David, if you give your email as well, I think that'd be helpful for people.
Of course. So just say hi. Say you were watching, enjoyed watching if you'd like, or for some more tips. shoot me an email. D, my first initial, D is in David. My last name, Shaheen, Shaheen at gedlawyers.com. I want to say thank you to Ariel and Harold for tuning in. Love you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Until next time, stay well and enjoy your coffee. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Boca Mag and Olivia. Great job.
Thanks. Bye.